Addictions can be destroyed, but they are destroyed oftentimes in community if God has not instantly delivered you. In this segment, I want to actually educate you on how people can become addicted, whether they're saved or lost. This can help you to understand people in your life, in your circle, or your friends, children, or neighbors who have addictions, and maybe help you not only to have compassion, but wisdom. Now, I want to talk about biological addictions. Paul says in 1 Thessalonians 5:23, to sanctify your spirit, soul, and body. Now, what I have found is people can have addictions rooted in any one of those three areas. It can be spiritual in that they don't know God and they really need to find Him and they'll get free. It could be in the soul. There's been emotional, physical abuse. We'll talk more about that. It could be in the body. That's what I want to talk about right now. Because the biological addictions, some of those are really simple to identify. Alcohol. When an alcoholic drinks alcohol, they create a chemical in the brain called tetrahydroisoquinoline, which is almost like a morphine-like substance, which makes them want more and more. When we use drugs and it stimulates our brain in such a powerful way, it can make us want more and more and more. The impact that these addictions can have on the brain itself, creating a desire for more, even in the sexual addictions or some of the process addictions like gambling. We find that these endogenous opiates hits the prefrontal cortex of the brain. And like with sexual addictions, people who use pornography and self-behavior, they can attach and hijack the chemical process of sexuality that God created, but attaching it to objects in a way that becomes addictive. Certain foods can hit the brain, okay? Carbohydrates, sugars, caffeines, you know if it's you, okay? You know if it's you. If you're the 10 o'clock ice cream person, you need to think about carbohydrates and sugar, okay? If you're the 3 cups of coffee in the morning person, you might want to think about caffeine, okay? But also technology, gaming, gambling, all of these kind of things. Being in an altered state can impact your neurological brain to want more and more. And that's why people can stay up on the computer or watch junk TV for hours, because they're neurologically becoming dependent on that altered state. Now, this person still has a choice. Okay, addictions aren't something that are done to us. It's something that we do and we continue to do and we choose to do. Okay, and now some of these choices create this chemical reinforcement, which makes it over time its own influence. Can we stop it? Yes. Free will allows us to be free. God's Spirit allows us to be free. It might take a process like we've been talking about. If you've tried to stop any addiction by yourself and you have failed, it's time to be in a Recovery for Everyone group. It's time to start a group. If you're a total failure, start a group. If you're successful, start a group, okay? Because you can heal and be healed in that context. The psychological or the soul realm. This is a soul that's in pain. This could be mom issues, dad issues, emotional abuse, physical abuse. It can be neglect. It could be sexual abuse. It could be abandonment. Now, you remember my story maybe from other tapings that we've done, but I was conceived in adultery. I was abandoned. I was put in foster homes. I never met my dad. All those were part of the soul that Jesus needed to heal for me to get free. The alcohol and drugs were purely, from my story, they were just physiological addictions. And when I met Jesus, they were done. Okay, everyone has their own journey. And sometimes God will just instantly deliver you from something, but if He hasn't, He wants you to go through the Recovery for Everyone process. So you can have that accountability. You can experience the power of being honest and confessing your faults one to another. Now, the spiritual-based addictions are the person looking for God through the addictive behavior. For me, that was alcohol and drugs, and trying to be connected and loved. And when they get saved, like I shared with you, my story, they're gone. And there's tons, millions of testimonies of people came to Christ and their behavior stopped all the way through church history. And there's also those who, like me, have to go through a process for some addictions as well. Now, another reason some people can become addicted is chemical imbalances. Their brain is using the drug or the behavior that creates the neurochemistry drug to create an addictive cycle. Someone who struggles with depression, bipolar, manic depression, these are chemical realities, and they need to be treated both medically and they need to go through the process because they've created an addiction. They need to also do the recovery program so they can walk through and mature, because addictions, for whatever reason you start them, they rob you of spiritual, emotional, and moral maturity. So growing up is really important, and the group helps you to do that. Now, addictions can be complicated, and you can help souls in your church to start breaking these chains so that they can move on from the things that have bound them for decades. You can start a recovery for everyone, for yourself, get the materials. Maybe you want to start with yourself, that's fine. But then get bigger ideas about your church, your community, every church. I honestly believe the church is a hospital for the world. Come into us, hear the gospel, and then let us disciple you. Let us heal the pains of your heart. Trust me, if you ask your pastor if there's a need today in your church to do this type of ministry, I doubt that you will hear no. You'll probably hear, when do you want to start? Okay, if you're going to do it out of your home, just start. Okay, addictions can be destroyed, but they are destroyed oftentimes in community if God has not instantly delivered you. So when you do a healing time group like this, you will have moments when people's light bulbs will come on. You'll have moments when they'll have victories of 3 months, 6 months, a year that they've never experienced. But because you stepped out of your comfort zone, whether you've ever had an addiction or never had an addiction, or you've been addicted or you are addicted, you stepped out of your particular comfort zone and said, you know what? Let me help other people. And when you help other people, God flows through you, and the things that he wants to get to them get deposited in you. I've learned so much sitting in the chair helping souls, and you will learn so much if you open your heart, open your home, or open your church to start a recovery for everyone ministry. This time is the time to start. Revival is coming, and God wants every one of his captives set free.